Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Man, have I got a stadium anthem today. Really gonna learn how to do Juke Box Hero by Foreigner. This has got some great guitar work from Mick Jones in it. We're gonna go through the whole thing from all the riffs, which are pretty simple rhythm guitar parts going throughout the song. There's a couple of overdubs, but I'll talk about those as well. And then when we get to the bridge / solo section, I'm going to cover that as close to note for note as we can get it. But it's got some really cool licks in the solo, and we're going to talk about all of it. Before I get into it though, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Ring that notification bell so you know when we see a new video. Like and comment, watch the videos. It really helps. Just you see a video release, just play it and go cook dinner or something. It really helps, trust me. Even if it's a song you hate, that's fine. It's a lot of work to put these things out. And if you really want to support what I do here on YouTube, really the best way to do it, I'm really putting a lot of effort into my online guitar academy. You're going to see a link to it in the description below. That link's going to give you a free 7-day trial too. My academy has all my guitar courses. If you like what I do here on YouTube, I think you'd really love what I'm doing in the academy. From all my courses for complete beginners to more advanced players in technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone. I go live every Saturday with Academy members, and you get personalized support from me as well too. So please go check it out. It's a really cool community, and I'd like to see you there. All right, so let's jump into the track. I'm in standard tuning here. When you see them play this live, a lot of times it's down a half step or whatever, but the original recording's in standard. So we're gonna start here with, I guess, the verse, basically. It's like a song that sounds like there's almost two pre-choruses. Like this sounds like a pre-chorus, like it's building up. And then it gets to the real pre-chorus. So maybe it's two pre-choruses, maybe it's that brilliant. But anyway, we're just gonna start with this open E string into an E power chord. So that's just the 7th fret on the A, 9 on the D and the G. And then what we're gonna do is hit the low E again, and then move the chord back to the 5th fret. But when you move it back to the 5th fret, you're gonna make it a full D major chord. So you make it a full D major by having that bar go all the way across the B string. So now it's 5 on the A, 7 on the D, G, and the B. Now once again, you don't have to do your bar with your pinky. Even though Mick Jones does, but anyway. So you can just do it like that. Sorry. Make it a power chord there, so you don't have the B string in there on this one. And then when you get down here, hit the open E, and then make sure you get the B string in there. Power chord, major chord. And I'm kind of hitting that low E in between it. Then we're gonna go to what's now. We do this a few times to be in the song, and then there's like an open G string bar dive there, and then it goes back through the stuff again. So you can do that bar dive. Obviously, I don't have this. I got this Les Paul, so there's no way I can obviously do this too well without breaking the neck in half. So we're just gonna. It's there. If you want to do that bar dive, hit open G string, dive the bar down. That's all it is. But from there, after I go this a couple more times, we get to the true pre-chorus, which is so that's just a B power chord here at the 7th fret of the low E string. So 7 on the low E, 9 on the A and the D. So hit that a couple times and let it ring. Kind of rings for almost a couple bars. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna lift up these fingers and just, you have a bar now across the bottom 3 strings. So you're gonna pick the 7th fret on the A and the D a couple times. And then what you do is you just go back to the 9th fret there on the D and the A. Pick those real quick, pull them back off to the 7s, and then hammer them back on. So I have this. One more time. So play the chord. So like this. just kind of does that a few times. The initial 2 hits on the chord, and then it gets us down to the chorus, which has a couple of guitars in it. There is this, basically an overdub that says, and you would think, that sounds ridiculous. But in the song, it really completely pulls that entire chorus together and just like a really cool vibe. And it's just like a little note. So that's that, kind of hearing a guitar player just do that on the open high E string above it. Yeah, you can maybe add those to the chords as well, but the chords themselves are not being played with that. The chords are just this. Alright, so it starts with just a low E power chord. So open E string, 2nd fret there on the A and the D. And then we go to a G power chord. So this G power chord is going to be the 3rd fret of the low E string. And I'm muting the low A, the A string with the bottom of my ring finger there. So it's not playing the 3rd, it's just muted A string. Open D, open G. Then the 3rd fret on the B and the high E. And then we go to a D major chord. And then back to that E power chord. And then do the chords again. Now, you can continue the chords with the rhythm guitarist doing that, but we have a little fill that happens after leaving the 2nd time around when you hit that D. You're gonna... So that little lick right there is gonna start with the open G string, quickly hammer on the 2nd fret, and then pull back off to the open G. It's kind of a quick little grace note. And then go 4-2-0 on the D string into the E power chord. Then we have this little ending fill, which you could play it like that, which is a lot easier to play it like that. But if you listen really close to the recording, there's an actual hammer on in there. Which means we can't play that open G. It's got to be, which makes you got to have a little bit more coordination to play that. That's going to be 2-4 on the D string, and then hammer 4-5 on the D, then back down to 4-2 open D. Now, when you see him play it live, sometimes I'm sure I'll go like that. It sounds fine, sounds great. But on the recording, most of the time, I think, except for maybe one time, you hear that actual hammer on it. So like this. Repeat. And then we're going to end the solo here. So that when you go back around to get to the fills again, when you hit that low E after the first fill, that's kind of the end of the chorus there. All right, so now we're going to roll off the volume a little bit, and we have this little verse, really heavily palm muted riff that happens here. Very, very difficult to hear correctly what he's doing. And when I see them play live, I don't really see him playing it too much. So I've kind of really, slowed it down and really tried to isolate the section to try to pick up what's going on here, because it's so heavily palm muted, it's hard to pick up the notes. But what I've got is going to be pretty close to it. So it looks like this. All right, so really heavily palm muted. It's just kind of the coming out of the first chorus is kind of how they're doing, and then they go back into the regular verse. So we have this. So it starts with a couple hits on the low E, heavily palm muted, and then we're going to be the 7th fret there on the A string, and then back down to the open E, and then the 3rd fret on the low E string, and you can slightly do a little pull on that if you want. And repeat that. So you basically do that 3 times to start. And then we're gonna go, and that's just kind of playing 5/7 on the A string a couple times, but you're gonna hit an open E in between each one. So with this. All right, so that's kind of the first thing you see, and then we go up to this. So it's basically a couple hits again, 7, then back to the open E, to 10. You can do a slight bend on that 10 on the A string as well. And then back to the open E, and then the 7 again, so with it. Again. So after this, you do that 7, 10, 7 twice. It does that, basically the lick that we did before, but except the note on the A string is at the 5th fret. So open E, then a couple times. Then the 5th fret there on the A. Open E again. 3rd fret there. And then to the open E. And then we're just kind of hang out on the 5th fret there, the A string, and the going back and forth between the low E. So it is. Kind of just something like that. And then we kind of stay a little bit more consistent from here on out in this part. We start with that part twice again. And that's just kind of going back to the ending to that right there. I'm just going 1, 2, 3, and then hitting a note on the 5th fret there on the A and just repeating that. All right, and then we're back to the 7 10s again, twice. And then we're gonna end this part by going back to that 3 hits on the low E string with the 5th fret there on the A a couple times. And then what he does is he jumps back 1 fret and starts bending to that note. And then slide up to start the verse again. So all together for that muted section is. Back to the regular verse chords right there, and then we're just back, kind of the same that we did before, and then to the same pre-chorus. if you wanted to do that little, you could just hit the power chord and then hit the G power chord without the high E string. And just kind of hit that open high E. And then the D power chord, so you leave out the high E string. And then you have that, so if you want to put those together. So that's kind of like if you're the only guitar player, and that's probably the best way to make it sound really, really close to the recording. Not the exact full chords that they're playing, but obviously you can't really do that if you just have one guy. But that high little E thing, that's just such a kind of defining sound of that chorus that I think it's a good thing to just kind of put the two together like that. All right, so from here we get to the bridge section, which is, there's a quick little, like I call it like a bridge riff. He plays it like twice and then he goes into the solo. So I'm gonna play this whole section for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. All right, so that little ending section there was pretty much under the pre-chorus when the pre-chorus is coming in. So Lou Graham's coming in and singing over that. But I'm going to do that as well because that's, Mick Jones really put some of the best licks at the very, very end, and it's kind of under the vocals, but they're really cool. So we're going to do that as well. So let's start with this solo here. So we're going to start with really kind of like, I would guess, the bridge, this little bridge riff that happens. All right, so that's gonna start with the open A string and hammer on the second fret. And then over to the second fret there on the D. And then just kind of doing some kind of muted eighth notes on, so down up on the low E, and then go up to play a D major chord a couple times. Just let that ring there. So we basically have this. Repeat that. And you'll see that the rhythm guitar kind of keep repeating that while Mick Jones goes into the actual solo over that. So it kind of has the same feel, but it's got a lot of those kind of double stops, kind of very bluesy and this kind of open position stuff. So it's one of those things that's kind of hard to get it exactly like he does it on the recording. If you know this style, you can just kind of do whatever you want. And he doesn't, when I've watched some of the videos from back when it was originally recorded, like the very early 80s, he's kind of just improvises during the solo. He doesn't really try to mimic what's going on the album for the most part, the ones I've seen at least. But we're going to try to get as close as we can. So we have basically this first phrase. So we're going to start with these open G, open B strings, and then go to the second fret of the G and the B. And then you go back down and doing those eighth notes on the low E string. And then what we're going to do is, which is just the open G and the B again, back to the second fret double stop, and then back to the open strings, over to the second fret there in the D, and then back to the open strings. So we have this. And then you hit the low E again. And then come up here and hit the high E string and the B string together. And then back to the double stops and open strings to the second fret. So it's kind of similar to that. Like I said, a lot of this is kind of muted sounding, and you know, it's kind of off the cuff playing. It's always kind of hardest to get note for note. So something like that, and then he's gonna slide up on the G string. So you can basically just slide up from 2 to 4 on the G, and then he'll hit the open high E and B again. And then when it come down, so then he just kind of descends. You can descend with a quick slide from 3 to 2 on the G, then play the open G, then the second fret on the D, and then repeat 2, 0 on the G, and then 2 on the D again. So with this. And then back to the double stops. Open B and G, and back to the second fret double stops on the G and the B. So this. And then I kind of go back to the open string double stops, and you can go down to the low E a little bit, and you're just kind of waiting for when he goes up to the high strings, and he does that little lick. So that's just kind of, you slide into the 5th fret of the B with the high E ring in as well. And then the open B string, then 3, 0 on the B. So when you do that, you can also have the high E ring in. And then you're gonna do a quick pull off, 5 to 3 to 0 on the B string, and then hit the open high E and B again. All right, so it kind of looks like this so far. All right, so after you hit those, you're gonna come down to the low E string, kind of start, we have a kind of a new section that looks like this. All right, so this one you can kind of pick up pretty well in the recording. So we're kind of just 8th notes on the low E string. And then we have this. You can do these as hammers or pick each one, doesn't matter. It just goes 5-4 on the A string, then 2-4, then open A to 2nd fret, so over to the 3rd fret and then the low E. Then we go back down to the open E string, and we start this kind of lick that goes up the D string. And that's basically gonna be, you're gonna start picking the 2nd fret there on the D, pull off to the open D, and then hit the open low E. So it's a 3-note lick there. Now that lick's gonna stay the same. The only thing that's gonna change is the note that we're playing on the D string. So we're always gonna pull off to the open D and then hit the open E afterwards. We have this. That's the lick. And then you're just gonna move it up here and start it at the 5th fret on the D string. So pull off to the open D, and then hit the open E. Then the 7th fret. And then the 9th. And when you get to 12, you're just gonna hit 12, it's done, because you gotta jump up and grab the next phrase. So we have this. All right, next phrase looks like this. So that starts, you're gonna kind of rakes into it a little bit. You can hear the 19th fret there on the B string real quick, but then, and then you just go over to the 19th fret on the high E string and do a 1.5-step bend. So a couple of them. And then you're gonna go over to the B string and do a whole step pre-bend. at the 19th fret. So after that pre-bend, resolve the bend. So then we're gonna start this little lick, descending lick. So that's gonna go 17, 19 on the B, 19 on the G, back to 17 on the B. Then you're gonna play 18, 19 on the G, and then 16, 18 twice on the G. Over to 17 there on the D. All right, and then the next phrase. So that's gonna start another step and a half bend at the 19th fret. This one's kind of a little bit slower though. Kind of slowly gets up there. So it's still a step and a half. So you're bending this B up to a D. And then you're gonna play the 19th fret by itself without the bend twice, down to 17, and then a bend at this 19th fret on the B to 17 on the B. And then jump back here to the 4th fret there on the G, and we're gonna work our way up the G string. Kind of staccato. I kind of start around the 4th fret. And just kind of move up chromatically, just kind of hitting them in this killing note real quick, just making it staccato. And when I get to the 9th fret, I'm gonna do a whole step bend and release. Pull off to 7, over to 9 on the D. So this is the section where Lou Gramm starts singing again. But unfortunately, because, I mean, Lou Gramm's amazing, but we have some really killer lick getting ready to come up from Mick Jones. But anyway, we are going to be doing this next. So that's a whole step bend at the 12th fret on the G, release, and then go back down to that B there at the 9th fret on the D string. And then we're gonna jump up here and do a couple of half step bends. And you can hear Lou Gramm singing the same note, especially that one. So we're gonna bend up a half step, and this is always kind of challenging to do. 2 half step bends that are just a step apart. So we're gonna be bending from the 16th fret up a half step on the B string. And then the same thing from the 15th fret. Got to really use your ear there. But it's cool that Lou Gramm is singing that note. So it's easy to find, right? You can just match him. And then we have this last lick, which is my favorite lick in the solo. It's kind of buried in the mix, but it's really cool. It looks like this. All right, so that is going to be up here at the 16th fret there on the A string. So we're going to start here 16, hammer on 18 on the A string, then the same thing on the D, then 16 on the G, and then pull off 18 to 16 on the D. And then real quick, we're going to pull off 18 to 16 on the G, over to 18 on the D. And then we're going to jump up here. That's up at the 19th fret on the high E string. Pick that, then roll over to the 19th fret there on the B, or you can just use your pinky on top. This one's a little bit cleaner sounding. but it takes a little bit more coordination. But or you can just smush your finger across the finger. That sounds cool too. So 19th fret on the, like I said, I can't see how he plays this. I don't see him play this lick when he live. I see him just kind of improvise whenever he's playing this live. So we have 19th fret on the high E, over to 19th fret there on the B, and then pull off to 16. So that's the lick. You basically do that 3 times. Do it 3 times. Or, and then do a quick bend, and then kill it at the 17th fret on the high E string. And then we're back to the last chorus out of that. So this last chorus is a lot of the same thing that we did before. It's got that same overdub going on, but same chords. So it's just at some point after they've repeated it a few times, when they get to the D chord, they kind of hold it for a few hits. And then they had this quick little lick that ends it. That's just kind of ends it. So it's a little bit different there. It's very similar to the lick that happens at the end of the chorus. So with this, so that's at 2, 4, and then once again, pick 4, hammer 5. Then back down to 4, 2. Now here, we're gonna go down to the open D, and then come back to the 2nd fret real quick. And then the low E string open. So that's just kind of the ending lick to the song. All right, and that's about it. It is a great song, just a stadium anthem, and just really cool. And like I said, it's got some great guitar work from Mick Jones, especially in that solo that is kind of a little bit lower in the mix. Some of it's under the second half of it's under the vocals, but if we can, they have an instrumental version on YouTube, so you can hear the stuff a little bit better. So it's really cool. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.